Okay, so in this video, I want to discuss how to prepare for the AMC10. This is a controversial video. Many people probably have different methods and prep plans, and it honestly is different for every person. This is not a universal one-size-fits-all plan. It's just a rough outline of targets that you might want to hit at different points in your journey. So the first thing is, we want to start back at the middle school checklist. Everybody joins their prep for the AMC10 at a different time. If you join earlier or later than some, the kids who have been doing it earlier, the students, they will have an advantage over you depending on how much time they've invested in competition math. Some things I like to see from students in middle school, you can start this as early as 5th grade. Start doing Alchemist. It's a free program online. You can find it, and I would do as much of it as you possibly can in your free time. You should have been doing AMC8s. They're not exactly the same content as AMC10, but a lot of the concepts in AMC8 will later appear in the AMC10, albeit with a little bit more difficulty. If you start preparing in 9th grade, though, don't go back and do the AMC8s. It's too late. Register for, spend time on the AOPS forums. This is an absolute fantastic resource for people who are trying to qualify for AIME or trying to take the AMC10 or AMC12. I recommend probably a half hour to an hour a week on there, or longer depending on how much free time you have. If you were in 2nd through 5th grade and your parents had you go to a tutor or you did it on your own, you did Beast Academy from grades 2 to 5, that's fantastic. That's a great step up. A lot of these concepts carry on to appear later in AMC8 and so on. If you didn't get a chance to do Beast Academy, oh well, move on. You're going to learn the same concepts just a little bit differently here. It's just that these students will probably have an easier time understanding the AOPS books. The next thing is the AOPS books that you should be starting with in middle school. Do you have to do these? No, you don't. I just think personally they're a great resource. For the AMC8 especially, the pre-algebra book is the best book, in my opinion, for the AMC8 prep. Virtually all of the tests will be contained in these, especially in the challenge questions. Not all of the tests, but maybe half at least, I guess. A large chunk. No other book will better prepare you. You can do it as early as 4th grade. I've heard of kids doing it in 3rd grade. It just depends on what level you are and whatnot. If you're already in algebra or geometry, maybe don't go back and do pre-algebra, as it might not serve the best benefit for you. If you haven't done algebra yet, even if you've done school algebra, you should do AOPS algebra. The questions are a lot different than what you face in a school course. It's going to ask you things in a much more challenging way and have more difficult applications of the general concepts, including teaching you some ways to think about algebra that are not covered in a middle school course. Intro to Geometry is the next one. Huge importance both for AMC8 and AMC10. I recommend you do it in 6th to 7th grade, somewhere around there, maybe a little earlier if you're one of those super genius kids. And if you get to it late, I don't think it's bad to go back and do the geometry one. It severely impacts the AMC10 later on. A lot of students tell me they had a bad geometry teacher in school and they didn't have a good chance. Pick this volume up, Intro to Geometry. Make sure you get the solutions with it. The next one I think is good is Intro to Probability and Counting, probably between 6th and 8th grade. Again, maybe a little earlier for some students. I think this one is worth doing in high school, even if you didn't get a chance to do it in middle school. The Intro to Number Theory, another great book, very enjoyable text. All of these texts are enjoyable. They're fantastically written. The authors are just amazing, phenomenal people. And they wrote it in a way that's easy to read. They are designed for self-study. They wrote them in such a way so that you can do self-study. But if you have access to a tutor, by all means, you work through it with them. But don't be afraid to work through these on your own and make sure that you get the solutions so that you can check your answers, obviously. The last one is actually the most important. You can do Volume 1, 7th through 10th grade, anywhere in there is fine. Heck, even beyond 10th grade you can do it if you decide you want to take the AMC12 and you never prepared before. This is the most impactful book for both AMC10 and 12, in my opinion. Next up, there's resources. The major resource for people taking the AMC is AOPS. Again, you have to become acquainted with this site, with the tools that they offer. Richard Rudchek, the man's a genius. Watch his videos too. They're amazing. He's a phenomenal teacher. Use YouTube. This channel, hey, subscribe, right? Tutor teacher. If you have the means to afford a tutor or a teacher, great, use one. If you don't, it's okay. Still work at it at your own pace by using these books that are available on AOPS website. AOPS is Art of Problem Solving. Yourself, you need to learn from yourself, learn from your past mistakes. When you make a mistake on a previous test, ask yourself what you could have done differently to avoid that mistake. Don't just say, oh, I made a silly or I made a mistake and I'll make sure I don't do it next time. No, ask yourself what caused you to make the silly. Most likely, they tricked you. They gave a trap answer and you fell for the trap. Right? They planned on the mistake that you were going to make. People test run these questions and think, where could you conceivably make a mistake in the problem? And then they put that mistaken answer in the answer choices and you smugly circle it or bubble it in, thinking that you're correct, and actually they've tricked you. So learn to recognize when that's happening. Try to avoid trap answers. Another one is camps like Awesome Math or CTY. Awesome Math, I've had several students go to both camps. Students report great things about the camps. They grow by leaps and bounds by attending a camp like that. The camps are expensive and they do have entry. You have to take a test to qualify to enter, and it will dictate whether you can go, and if you can go, what classes you qualify for. If you can't afford it, don't worry. It's not going to be that bad. It's just they'll have an advantage. It's okay. Past tests and solutions from MAA, the Math Association of America. The Math Association of America is the company that makes the AMC. They have put it out for so many years. Their solutions are different from the ones you find on AOPS. They have official solutions that come on their discs. You may know a tutor or teacher that already has access to those official solutions. For a high school checklist, you should probably do intermediate algebra, maybe in 9th and 10th grade. Maybe you get to it in 8th grade. That's fine also. If you get to it in 11th grade, it's okay. Maybe you're a little late to the party of doing competition math. Intermediate counting and probability, again, 9th and 10th grade. I don't think this one has as much of an impact on the AMC10. It certainly has more of an impact on AMC12 and AIME level thinking. It can maybe affect one question or give you a slightly faster solution to questions you learned in the intro to probability and counting. Maybe, I don't know, Volume 2, I think it's geared more towards AMC12 and the AIME and the pre-cal book from AOPS as well. Now, your school math is going to assist too. Even though those are really simple concept things, they're actually really important and you need to get them down, so make sure you're studying well for your school subjects. Skills that I think you need to have. You need to know when you're right. Do not think, oh, I think I'm right, I think it's B. No, you need to know. And you can't teach this skill. You have to teach it to yourself. It's something that you have to determine the other answers are incorrect or you know that your reasoning was accurate. Learn to gain that skill. It takes many years sometimes to pick up this skill. Don't make mistakes. Don't make the sillies. Learn from your past mistakes. Never let a mistake go to waste that you've made in the past on the competition. Ask yourself, what could I have done differently to avoid that mistake in the future? Work fast, but not too fast. Don't try to be a speed demon. There's plenty of time to work through the test for most people. As long as you've covered a lot of this former content, you should be okay with your speed. Your priority depends, again, where are you coming into this picture? Did you miss all of this middle school content? Sad day, but it's not too late. You can still start in 9th grade year. If you're starting in 9th grade year, your priority is the AMC 10 tests. All tests from 1999 to present. They're all great to do. Don't just do them. Read and understand the solutions, either from MAA or the provided solutions on AOPS. For AMC12, all tests, AMC12, it's especially questions like 1 through 20 or 1 through 15. Those are questions that will be good for AMC10 as well. In fact, a lot of the same questions from AMC10 are on AMC12. They just occur earlier on the AMC12 than they do on the AMC10. Usually, I don't know, 4 to 8 questions a year from the AMC10 appear on the AMC12 of the same letter, A or B. In the AOPS books, what is the most impactful? This is an approximation. This is my opinion. Other people might have a different opinion. Feel free to consult them, or maybe they'll comment down below. Volume 1 covers the concepts that you learn and master in Volume 1 will cover concepts that are underlying the problems in about 8 to 12 questions on the AMC10. Is it maybe a little lower one year like 7? Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe a little higher other years. It's an approximation. Algebra 1 of the Intro to Algebra content will cover 1 to 3 questions. In other words, if you've mastered the Intro to Algebra book, whenever you did it, it's 1 to 3 questions on the AMC10. The books take a while to get through. They're not going to be done in a day or a week. I would say probably at least a month, depending on how much time you have. The real important thing about middle school is the amount of free time that you have. You think you're busy in middle school, you're 6th grade, said, oh, I got so much to do. You have no idea. When you get to high school, you're going to have way more homework per class. You start to take AP courses, honors courses. You have prep work for college, SAT, ACT. There's a lot more things on your time. You pick up a couple extracurricular activities. So middle school is where it's at. You really need to get a solid foundation in middle school. Again, you didn't get that solid foundation, let's say. Should you just not take the test? No, everyone should be trying to take this test for the joy of it, for the fun of it. Okay, so the geometry is going to cover about 1 to 4 questions. Maybe it's 2 to 4 questions on any given AMC10. Probability and counting is another 1 to 3. It's super important. Number theory fluctuates, 0 to 2 questions it will impact on the test. You're not going to get every test is going to have a number theory question, but lately a lot of them have 1 or 2, like I said. Intermediate algebra, again, perhaps 0 to 2 questions on the AMC10. Again, all subject to my opinion. In addition, I note that approximately 8 to 14 questions are based in previous year's historical problems. That's why you really want to have gone through all the AMC10s. I recommend once you've done all the AMC10s and AMC12s, maybe you go back and do the AMC10s a second time. It's okay. When you're doing tests a second time, do not just circle the answer. Travel the solution path. Even if you know what the answer is from the start of the problem, reaffirm the underlying conceptual solution path. It will reinforce the concepts and help you better retain them. Okay? In addition, I say this again, it's 11 to 17, just 25 minus 14 and 8. There's going to be new applications of older concepts on the test. It is not a test like a school test where if you studied everything they taught you in school, then that's what you find on the test. It is innovative. It's creative. They're modifying old concepts, and they want to see if you can follow them down that path to the solution. They try to obscure it through a new twist, which you can see in some of the videos I've posted. How to qualify for AIME, it's the top 2.5% approximately. It used to be 2 ways, 120 or top 2.5%. Around 2015, they did away with the 120 guaranteed qualifier, and then they said only top 2.5%. Shortly after that, they removed that from the top of the test, and it just says those who score well. It's still, I think, either exactly 2.5% or approximately top 2.5%. So these was the AIME floor, the minimum score you had to have for these years. The lowest ever cutoff for an AIME was last year's 10A test, a 103.5. Previously, I think it was this one, the 106.5 in 2015. There's been 2 tests in the last 5 years that had the 120 cutoff. So how do you know what to aim for? The only guaranteed way to qualify is if you answer more than 20 and you get at least 20 right. And I say guaranteed because you never know, maybe it moves above 120 one year. To this point in time, in the 20 years of the AMC10, it has never been above 120 for the cutoff. So if you answer 25 and you get at least 20 of them right, you're virtually guaranteed to qualify. The more probable plan for most students is to be able to answer 21 where you get 19 right. This will also get you exactly a score of 120. Now, what if you've taken a test? Again, if you've had the experience of doing these tests, you'll know what feels harder and what doesn't feel harder as you're taking the test. You'll be able to perceive, oh, there's a trap answer, or there's a trap answer that I avoided. You can sense that other students are going to make mistakes. Maybe you had to think really hard on number 8, and that's not normal. That's indicative it's probably a harder test. Get a feel for harder and easier tests so you kind of know what you're aiming for. I don't recommend guessing. I don't recommend if you're only able to answer 16 questions and you can't get past that, I don't think it's a good idea just to randomly guess and hope you qualify. If you were to answer 16 and you develop the skill of not making mistakes and knowing that you're right, 16 times 6 is a 96. The 9 skips is going to give you 13.5. That's a 109.5. That's going to get you qualified on 4 tests of the last 8. That's not bad. You know, maybe it's a harder test. Maybe you just missed qualifying. But it's not a good idea to guess because, you know, you could fall back and lose the 1.5 points for skipping. What else to say? Another thing you should probably do is I recommend making a tracking form. In the future, I will probably link to a Google Doc that has a tracking form. You should keep track of your tests. And what I put on the form is number right, number wrong, number skipped, number answered. Your main goal on that tracking form is to get the number wrong to go down to 0 to 2. In fact, 1 to 2 is not great. 0 is ideal, but 1 to 2 is kind of acceptable, especially if you're going for the 19 out of 21 general strategy. Again, this is not, fail-safe. If you try it and you only get 18 right and the cutoff's 120, it might not work. It's just a rough plan to get you qualified. So make a tracking form. I also include the date I took it. I put things on there also like a plus or minus to track your progress. When you're taking the practice tests, in the beginning, it's okay if you don't time yourself. You don't have to time yourself every time. As you get closer to test day and you're taking more tests, you should be timing yourself. You have to feel the pressure of time. So that's about it. I also recommend that you purchase a notebook. This notebook here is a Moleskine. I typically fill it out with concepts I've learned from problems on one side only. Why one side? It's so you can flip through quickly without having to look back and there's no bleed through. You can use pen or pencil. Just put concepts that you've learned either from the solutions, from your teacher, from seeing problems, and you want to remind yourself of them. When it gets closer to test day, I don't recommend doing more tests the last couple days before the actual exam date. I recommend you study your notes. Review the concepts that you saw occurring most frequently on past tests, because there's a good chance a good portion of those concepts will be on there again. Things like Ptolemy's theorem, or arithmetic series sum, or infinite geometric series sum. Just review those kinds of things. Have it in one place is very handy, because chances are, after you've done an old test, most people don't go back and look at it again. So try to extract from each test you take the key concepts and formulas that you can keep in one place. The Moleskine Journal costs something like $10 to $15. You can buy it on Amazon or get it at your local Barnes & Noble. If you don't want to spend that kind of money on it, it's a nice one. They sell them at Walmart for $4, cheap little small pocket notebooks. I don't recommend a big notebook. Get a small one so you can literally take it in your pocket and study it while your mom is shopping or wherever else that you have to be and you're stuck somewhere, doctor's office, dentist's office, whatever, and you can study the concepts in there. That's about it. Again, this is my rough plan. What should you think of you should probably start thinking about taking the AMC10 about 7th grade. I have heard of a local student who qualified for AIME as young as 4th grade. That kid's going to be building rockets someday. We're not all rocket scientists. This is a good place to start. Maybe 6th grade would be good. 5th grade and below, you know, your parents will know. They'll make you start taking it in 5th grade if you've got that kind of skill set. Why do you want to take it early? Not to qualify. You take it to get your feet wet, to get accustomed to the difficulty of the test. In 6th to 7th grade, maybe you score around a 70 on the test. That's fine. Don't worry about it. The score isn't so important. The experience of the time pressure and the taking the test under pressure is what's important. Your score should go up by year, but approximately. It's normal when you're going through these tests to sometimes drop because some tests go up in difficulty year by year or from the A test to the B test. You can see in 2015, the 106.5 AIME floor versus a 120, the A was obviously much harder. So don't worry if sometimes it goes down. That's normal journey process type of stuff. 8th grade, you probably want to, obviously the sooner you qualify for AIME, the better. But if you can get to in 8th grade, say a 90 plus, that's fantastic. Try to get higher. Everybody's going to be different. You want to aim for your personal best. Maybe you don't eclipse 90. Don't give up. Keep improving. The skills you gain from preparing for this test are of huge benefit. Watch my other video on why you should do competition math if you're not sure why. By 9th grade, you should be getting to 100 plus. And by 10th grade, that's when you're trying to qualify for sure. There are kids that qualify, like I said, as young as 4th grade. Maybe you'll do it in 6th or 7th or 8th. Who knows? This is not Loctite. This is what I've seen historically from about the 30 students that I've had qualify for the AIME. And they typically qualify either 9th grade or 10th grade year and improve from there. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it's helpful.